I thought we would be hearing again from Group A this week, as they've done in seasons past, but they're mixing it up a little bit, and we've already been introduced now to Group B. So there's 4 new singers. One will get sent home. Let's talk the Masked Singer. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my recap and reaction video to The Masked Singer. We are in season 11 now. This is episode 2, and we've met Group B already. I was surprised by that. I figured usually they do at least 2 weeks with the first group, then they switch it off. So does that mean next week we will be meeting Group C already? Maybe. So now we've got the Gumball, Miss Cleocatra, the Afghan Hound, and the Beets. And there's 2 of those, the Beets. So that will be an interesting one. I have one of these, I think, for sure figured out. The other 3, I really don't know. I have a fairly good guess on one as well. But before we get started with this week's episode, we're going to recap a little bit of last week's episode. But even before that, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do the Masked Singer recaps every single week that there is a new Masked Singer episode. And so this whole season, we will get that going just about every week. Sometimes they do like 1 week where there's like a filler episode. But other than that, I will be with you for the whole journey. Please consider subscribing down below and like this video. But most importantly for the Masked Singer videos are the comments. Let me know in the comments what you think of my guesses, who you think are under the masks. If you don't like my guesses, and that certainly happened once last week as well. So let's recap that real quick. The first singer was the Goldfish, and that is the one that I am now switching gears on. Vocally, it sounded like Kristen Chenoweth to me. So that was my guess, but I really couldn't match any of the clues up. So almost everybody in the comments said that this is Vanessa Hudgens. And I must admit, High School Musical was not in my wheelhouse, really. When I worked at the video store back in the day, we did put that on sometimes. So I know a few of the songs, but I mean, at this point, that was 18 years ago or something. So I don't really remember how Vanessa Hudgens specifically sounds. And these clues, though, do seem to match up pretty well. And then I listened to a couple of her songs from the High School Musical movies, and I was like, okay, vocally, I can hear Vanessa Hudgens in there, too. So I am going to switch off my Goldfish guess to Vanessa Hudgens. All my other guesses, though, are going to stand. I believe the Starfish is Kate Flannery from The Office. I believe the Ugly Sweater is Charlie Wilson from the old Gap Band. And then the Lovebird is Colton Underwood, I think, from The Bachelor, and he was a football player as well. All right, so on to this week's clues and performers. It is Wizard of Oz night, my number 1 all-time favorite movie. This is not part of that alphabet on the shelf, but down there I have like 5 different copies of The Wizard of Oz. Every 5 years when they release a new anniversary edition, I get it. So I have a lot of them. I have a couple on VHS too, I think, in the back room. But anyway, Wizard of Oz, this is the 85th anniversary, and this show must be in some way owned by Warner Brothers or something, even though it's Fox. Because last year or the year before they did DC Superhero Night, and DC is owned by Warner Brothers too. And I believe that it is currently Warner Brothers that owns the rights to Oz. It's changed hands a few times over the years. MGM, of course, originally produced it, but I think it's currently a Warner Brothers distribution production. So, which also makes sense because Warner Brothers owns TBS, and it's on TBS like constantly. So I don't know. This show must have something to do or some contract with Warner Brothers. But in any event, so all the panelists were dressed up in Oz gear. Everybody was a different character. And when everybody came out, Nick first asked them, before even going to the clue package, Nick asked them what Oz character gives them the most inspiration. So we started there, then got the clue package, then the song, and then the post-song clue also relating to Oz. So let's do the Gumball first. The Oz inspiration there is the Tin Man, and really, this character, it's called the Gumball, but it's a gumball machine. It's a whole, like, not nickel, but like, what do you put, quarter, like a quarter gumball machine. So it's not just one big round gumball, but whatever. So they're calling it the Gumball, so that's what I'm going to call it, but it's really the Gumball machine. The Oz inspiration is the Tin Man, and he said, like the Tin Man, I was rusty at first, and then have grown into myself. He says, zero directions on my yellow brick road to success, and we see the American South at that point in kind of a heart around Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi. He said, I didn't know how to make it to the stage, so I did everything and anything, and we see drums. We see him doing a robot dance and a guitar. So, maybe we're thinking somebody from a three-piece band. He said, I beatboxed, I performed at theme parks, I got booed at a competition for winning. So they thought, I guess he wasn't very good. We see a spider at that point. We also see a chariot. And he said, I had timing and luck along the way. And the clue, or he's saying, if I only had a heart, which he just kind of sang the intro to that, and then he turned that into Heartbeat Song by Kelly Clarkson. And then the clue is the heart clock that the Tin Man gets at the end of the movie. He said, I always had the heart of a superhero. And then he threw like the clock itself thing to Rita. So we're thinking perhaps there's some kind of connection there with the Gumball and Rita Ora. So the guesses from the panel include Chase Crawford from The Boys. That's what Rita thought. Kevin Jonas of the Jonas Brothers, which would explain kind of the three-piece part of it all. And then Jamie Dornan was Ken's horrible guess from 50 Shades of Grey, which he said Rita Ora was also in. I don't really remember that, but whatever. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but apparently she was in it as well, so that would explain that connection. I am between two people on this, and I have to make one singular guess because those are sort of, the rules. We got to narrow it down to one person. So I'm thinking it might be between Gavin DeGraw, who is, a very famous singer, or Skylar Astin, who is more of a Broadway song and dance man, but you may know him from Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. And so here's my reasoning. Vocally, it sounds to me the most like Skylar Astin, but I can't really put all the clues together. He's from New York. He's not from the South. And I do believe that he performed at theme parks. That makes sense. But the thing other than the voice that really puts me in the mind of Skylar Astin is he sang Heartbeat Song by Kelly Clarkson. And on Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, Zoe could hear people's innermost thoughts as songs, and they called them on the show heart songs. So, you got heart songs. He's singing Heartbeat Song. Pretty close. And I've been watching season 2 of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, and so I've got Skylar Astin on the brain. However, he's not from the South, and I can't figure anything he has to do with the South. So, against my better judgment from the voice, I'm going to go with Gavin DeGraw because we saw a chariot, and one of his big hits was called Chariot, and I think the album it came from was also called that. And I actually should have looked him up where he's from. I don't know, but he certainly seems more Southern to me than Skylar Astin. So that's possible. And I could also see him doing, theme parks and performing maybe in a band or something. And the spider clue I can't figure out either. Oh, and then the heart of a superhero. That one I can't quite figure out. Did Gavin DeGraw write a song for a superhero movie? Was Skylar Astin in a superhero movie? I don't know. I try not to look too many things up. I just go with the old noggin here, and then you guys in the chat can sort of veer me in one direction or the other, because I feel like, look, the panel, when they first see these people, they don't look things up. They just kind of go off what they know. So that's what I'm doing. I'm between those two. Neither could be correct, but I'm gonna go officially with Gavin DeGraw for the Gumball. All right, then we've got Miss Cleocatra, and she says her inspiration from Oz is the Good Witch. And then in her clue package, she says, it's taken me time to figure out if I am a good or a bad witch. I was living life in Technicolor. We see a Bel Air sign at that point. But I worried that the empire I built could crumble. Days went between gorgeous rainbows to horrendous black and white. And when she said gorgeous rainbows, we saw a suitcase that said vacay on it, like vacation. She says, some called me a national treasure, but I felt wicked. Then I got the diagnosis I never wanted, but needed. And we saw a raven at that point. She said, I'm glad I reached out for help. I am a good witch. And she sang Stormy Weather, the Etta James classic. She sang it amazingly. I mean, this is clearly a classic diva here. I think everybody, including the panel, is thinking, an actress and singer. Because those were all of the guesses. That's my guess as well. But her post-song clue was a star, like a magic wand with a star on top. And she said, I've already worked my magic in an Emmy Award-winning show. All right, so the guesses from the panel. Taraji P. Henson. That's a pretty good guess. That was, I think, Ken's, which that's his best guess of the night for sure. And she did say, the empire I built could crumble. So, of course, that's, Taraji P. Henson. And she can sing. We know that. Rita, I believe it was, guessed Sheryl Lee Ralph. She can certainly sing. She's done Broadway and, of course, is currently on one of the hottest shows on network television, Abbott Elementary, very Emmy Award winning. And then Loretta Devine was guessed as well, I think maybe from Robin. Not a bad guess. The Emmy Award winning show, maybe Boston Public. 25 years ago. I mean, that might have won something. But my guess is somebody actually that was guessed, I think it was last season, by our panelist who is not with us this season, Nicole Scherzinger. I think this is Jenny Lewis. And actually, I think maybe I went with that guess last year. I forget. But she played one of the aunts on Bel Air, not one of the two Aunt Vivs, but she was Aunt Helen. I think she recurred throughout the whole series, so she was on a few times there. I don't really know about her health diagnosis. I don't know if she has beaten cancer or something like that. I'm not sure about that, but she has worked on an Emmy-winning show. Blackish, she was Anthony Anderson's mother on Blackish for the whole run. And that was nominated for about 25 different Emmys over the course of its run. But it only won one for, I think it was hairstyling, maybe. But anyway, it's an Emmy Award-winning show. But really, right from the voice, from the start of the voice, I was like, this has got to be Jenny Lewis. And she sang the hell out of that song. I'm sticking with Jenny Lewis for Miss Cleocatra. Next is the Afghan Hound, and she is the one who got voted off. So we're going to talk about her in depth a little bit and then move to our final performers, the Beets. Her Oz inspiration is the Cowardly Lion. She says, every day I tell myself to be brave. I would dream about life over the rainbow, and we see a remote control at that point, and also a clothesline with her face on a t-shirt. So at first I thought maybe she was saying she envisioned her face on a shirt or something to sell, but then I thought, okay, it's hanging on a clothesline, so perhaps she has a clothing line, this person. She said, I had dreams that my family and I had came true, and we did it together until recently. Our whole house came crashing down, and I felt alone picking up the pieces. And we see at that point a big key with, like they would give in Oz or whatever, but it had a house on it. So we're thinking a house key, which made me think the Real Housewives. And she says, I'm not a good singer, but I want to put on a show to make my family laugh from afar. And she sang The Lion Sleeps Tonight. It was it was one of the worst performances by a clear mile on this show in the 11-season history. It was terrible. But that being said, look, she admitted in the clue package, I can't sing. And boy, she can't. She was so off key. So the clue post song was the Courage medal. She said, it takes courage to be on TV with the characters of my family. So, of course, I guess Real Housewives really don't, I don't know. I don't watch those shows. Are their families part of it? I guess maybe sometimes, right? That might throw my guess off a little bit. But all right. So the guesses from the panel were the same guesses when she got eliminated. So we'll just kind of go to that in a second. But before we get to the Beets and before we get to the Take It Off, I will say that the Afghan Hound and the Gumball went head-to-head at the end of the episode. And I can see that. The Gumball was good, but probably not as good as the other performers. So I could see him being in the final two. But look, there was nobody that was going to go home except for the Afghan Hound. They sang Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. They both did their own sort of spin on it. But boy, oh boy, off key is an understatement for the Afghan Hound. So obviously she's going home. Robin's guess was Bethany Frankel. So he's thinking along my lines with the Real Housewives. Jenny was thinking Brooke Hogan from the Hogan Knows Best reality series. But Brooke Hogan did have an album out. I don't know how auto-tuned that was, but I think she could certainly sing better than this. So I'm ruling that one out. Ken was thinking it was Olivia Jade, who is Lori Loughlin's daughter. She had, big success on YouTube, but the big, scandal, the family coming crashing down, all of that stuff. The house key for Full House could be Olivia Jade from Lori Loughlin's, family. And then Rita thought it could be Sistine Stallone from the Family Stallone, which is currently airing on, I think, Paramount Plus, but that's their reality show. So I was kind of thinking along the lines of Robin. He was saying Bethany Frankel. I don't know much about the Real Housewives, but I do know about this particular person, I'm going to say, because first of all, she was on The Celebrity Apprentice like 15 years ago. And that's the first time I heard of her because I don't watch The Real Housewives. But then also her, and I think maybe her husband too, went to jail for tax fraud or something. So she was kind of in the news cycle for a little bit as well in the entertainment news. So I think this could be Teresa Giudice. Or Giudice. I'm not positive how to pronounce it, but she is, I don't know, I guess because she was on Celebrity Apprentice, maybe she's one of the Real Housewives of New York. I'm not sure even what housewife show she's from, but let's say New York. But just the clues, and I can absolutely guess that she can't hold a note to save her life, which would fit in here as well. So I'm gonna go against the panel. I thought the Olivia Jade guess was pretty good actually from Ken, but I'm gonna just go out on my own here. If this is a reality show person, I'm probably not right, but I'll just put it out there. I think this is Teresa Giudice from the Real Housewives of something or another. She's one of the only housewives I would recognize to see her too. So when they do take it off, maybe I'll actually recognize her. All right, let's see. No, it's blonde. Okay. It's Chrisley. Savannah, well, I never would have gotten that. I know what Chrisley Knows Best is, but it's Savannah Chrisley from Chrisley Knows Best. I was never going to get that. I know the show, but I don't even know any of the people's names except is the dad. I don't even know. I don't know anyone's first name. So if they weren't guessing it, I certainly wasn't going to. But that makes sense because I think their family did have problems as well. Oh, she was a former Miss Teen USA. Okay, I didn't realize that.
But I gotta ask
All right.
Why the Masked Singer?
Honestly, my life over the past year has changed drastically.
All right.
Lost both my parents to the federal system, and
Okay.
I have custody of my 15-year-old brother.
Okay, so that's the other family that has been in the entertainment news lately. Both of her parents are in jail. I do believe Teresa Giudice and her husband also went to jail for some kind of tax evasion or something. I think maybe that's the same thing that happened with Chrisley. So now this Savannah is taking care of her 15-year-old sibling.
10-year-old sister. So
and
if I can teach them anything,
both their siblings.
it's
Okay.
take every opportunity that comes your way and
Okay.
don't back down.
Well, look, I don't hate that. And honestly, I will give her credit. Among some of the other like really bad singers on this show, I mean, they mostly come from reality shows, I guess. But Caitlyn Jenner wasn't a very good singer. We had Honey Boo, or no, it wasn't Honey Boo Boo. Wasn't it Mama June? No, I'm sorry. I think it was Honey Boo Boo. She was terrible. JoJo Siwa was good. But yeah, a lot of these people cannot sing. But I will give her credit. I don't know anything about her or her show. She might be a scummy person. I don't know, but I will give her credit for coming on this show and singing when she clearly has no singing ability. So that takes cuts. All right, so I'm 1 for 2 then. Everybody got Kevin Hart last week as soon as he opened his damn mouth. So that was a gimme. But I'm 1 for 2 now. Missed that one. But let's see if I know who the Beets are. I think I have a decent guess on this. So we'll go to this next. All right, so the Oz inspiration, Dorothy and Toto. He said, there's no place like home, or well, they sort of went back and forth talking. There's no place like home, and wouldn't we know it? Home is wherever we're together, and for a while had millions of eyes on us. Try 40 million. And then we see a radio. He said, we had each other's back because we're family. And then we have a book cover that says Beating the Odds. He says, his brain and his heart make us unbeatable. And then we see a 2 of hearts. Performing on stage will be like going back to our roots. Another sort of beat, in joke there or whatever. And then they sing Home from Michael Bublé. So a lot of Home stuff there. And then they do argue a little bit at the end of the clue package about which one's Toto, which one is Dorothy. But I don't know who's talking when because they were sort of walking away into the sunset at that point. So the post-song clue was Toto himself. And one of them says, like Toto and Dorothy, we're best friends and pretty good co-stars too. So the guesses from the panel, Rita thought it might be Jason Bateman and Will Arnett from Arrested Development. They played brothers, but of course also have one of the most popular podcasts around, Smartless, which I highly recommend. I only have time really for about 3 podcasts, and Smartless has become a mainstay for me. It is hilarious. It's the 2 of them and Sean Hayes in these really in-depth interviews with celebrity friends and other people as well. So recommend that one. I don't think it's them under these masks. These harmonies are way too good. I've never really heard either of them sing, I guess, but these are trained singers. The harmonies here are amazing. Ken's horrible guess was Casey and JoJo. Everyone booed him for that. And then somebody else, I think, was it Jenny maybe or Robin, said Steve Martin and Martin Short. And then Nick was like, Ken, I thought you were going to guess that. You guessed Martin Short every single season. And Ken was like, yeah, but that's definitely not the 2 of them. So, and I agree. I don't think it's Steve Martin and Martin Short. So, okay, from the clue packages, I was thinking, all right, we said, well, at first I thought the Property Brothers, because they said there's no place like home and wouldn't we know it? So I thought, okay, who do we know from a famous home thing? Property Brothers, all right. But they said for a while had millions of eyes on us. Their show is still around. And it certainly never had 40 million viewers. So I sort of ruled that out. And then I heard them sing, and I thought, all right, I've never heard the Property Brothers sing. I know one of them is married to Zooey Deschanel. She can sing. But I kind of ruled that out. And then I thought, okay, well, 40 million viewers, that has to be an older show. No show gets 40 million viewers in the last, at least 10, 15 years, right? So even the top shows, these days only get maybe 15 to 20 million. So I ruled out anything that recent. And then I thought, well, maybe, okay, Full House. Maybe it's John Stamos and Dave Coulier. Obviously, Bob Saget has passed. But that, I don't know if it ever got to the 40 million mark, but that could be something. But then once I heard the harmonies, I'm like, okay, I think these are more trained singers than just actors who sing. So I started piecing the clues a little more together. It was interesting that they said they had 40 million eyes on us, but then we saw a radio. So that got me thinking, okay, American Idol, huge in its first few seasons, 40 million eyeballs for sure. I was one of those watchers for sure. And then when they said performing on stage will be going back to our roots, I think this is season 2 American Idol winner and runner-up Ruben Studdard and Clay Aiken. Best friends. They have toured before, and I think it's a little bit of an in joke. And I'm a gay guy, so I feel like I'm gonna just throw the in joke out there when they go at the end. Well, which one of us is Dorothy and which one of us is Toto? Clay Aiken is very famously gay, and that is Dorothy. Specifically Judy Garland is one of the top gay icons of all time. They used to call gay people friends of Dorothy back in the day, when it was a little more hush hush to be homosexual, and so I feel like that was kind of an in joke for Clay Aiken's sexuality as well, which obviously they can't delve into on the show like that, but that's what I was thinking. And then just those harmonies, oh my god, I think they could easily be contenders for winning this competition. I mean, my god, they still have a great vocal tones, both of them. So that's my guess for that. I'm not as confident on that as Jennifer Lewis, but I do think that the vocals match up, and I think a lot of the clues match up. But it's wide open on that. I could be way off. But the one I really don't know, the Gumball Machine, no clue. I do think it might be between Gavin DeGraw and Skylar Aston, though. So you tell me in the comments who you think is under these masks, and we will see, I guess, Group C then next week as we continue on. And then perhaps we'll go back to Group A after that with a wild card. I don't know. He said there's 16 overall performers, so I assume there's going to be wild cards at some point. He said that on last week's episode. So, all right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.